This is KUGAN CASSIUS for IFLTV. Delighted to be.
Bye week, baby.
All right, mate.
How you doing?
All right. Fucking
Missed you
fine.
last week. I mean, like, it was one of those very rare week for us. No show, no Coogan, little recharge. But are you ready? Are
Ab-
you ready for the madness? I mean, this Saturday, Catrol against Eubank, massive night for British boxing, huge domestic fight in Manchester, big card. Next week, Taylor Serrano on the Friday, the massive Ring Magazine event on the Saturday in New York. Then we go to Texas for Jesse Bam Rodriguez, one of the cards of the year. It's a wild few weeks coming up. Plus, we got the FIFA Club World Cup coming to an end. I'm going to be going to that. Probably the sort of main guest on the day on the pitch. Probably present the trophy actually at the final, which will be nice.
what?
Um,
What did you hang on? Stop. What?
well, I haven't been asked yet, but I'm going to the semi-final and the final. I'm just saying there's a good chance the zone or someone will ask me to present the
Do
trophy to the
you
winner.
know what? Do you know the stick you'll get for that? You'll get the stick that Salt Bay geezer got.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that I do. Right, full kit, John Terry stuff.
Right. Well, look, great promo for your next few weeks, but a little gripe here. Not enough UK shows coming up, mate, for you for Matchroom. Sorry, there ain't. Like after
But
he said, hold on, after this Saturday, yeah, cracker
no,
is
but that's the
up.
obviously we're about to. You do this every time we complete our run, and we get ready to announce our slate. Right? You're like, oh mate, there ain't a lot of shows come up. But listen, we got Saturday out the way. We go again very early August.
Oh, really?
Yeah, September, October, they're all in the plan. We've got some massive UK fights coming up. And of course, Ben Eubank announced
We'll come on to
last
that
night,
in a second.
September 20th. But so just chill, yeah?
All right, all right. I'm just saying, like what the
It's
fans,
a big listen. I'm but yeah, sorry, Frank.
what people want to hear. Like lack of UK shows is quite apparent in July. You got one in the UK,
Yeah, but we've got like we all work with the zone. So the zone, we have July 5th, Catrol Eubank,
and that's it.
right? Hold on. Yeah, but we're with the same broadcaster. July 19th, you've got
Stop
Usyk.
piggybacking off other people's shows. I'm on about you
Oh,
in the
here we go.
UK.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go to the zone and I'll say, I know you got Usyk Dubois on July 19th, but Coogan thinks we should be doing a few more shows. So is it all right if we go the same night?
All
You
right,
plonker.
all
And then
right.
we've got our man Reece Bellotti fighting Ryan Garner July 26th.
Bournemouth, yes, absolutely.
So we're putting together a collective schedule for UK fight fans, Coogan.
All right, mate. All right, calm down. Fucking hell. When he
Well,
said,
I mean, you just get you like
I've just
I'm
been
calm, mate.
quiet.
I'll be honest with you, I'm calm. Just don't get so fucking personal, all right?
Right, let's talk about this week. There's so many layers to this fight. It's a great fight, and Catrol, where he is in his career compared to where Harlem Eubank is. But the big question is Mr. Rastafari, is he going to be in town?
I would think so. I mean, I think that with Senior, obviously he does have huge value to the promotion. I think obviously we don't. I'm say we don't get on. I don't think he particularly likes me, but I think he will be like he hasn't really been involved in a promotion of this fight. I guess he's been by Harlem's side, or but he won't really want to do a lot probably till fight night if he comes because he'll be thinking in his head because I know how he thinks. I'm not giving. I mean, if I all of a sudden say I'm coming, the entire two layers of the AO arena will sell out. Not quite, but he would certainly add value. But it's his family again, and obviously him and Harlem have been a lot closer than him and Junior over the last couple of years. So I would expect him to be there, but I don't know. I think Junior's going apparently as well. So yeah, it's a big night for the Eubanks. I mean, look, away from it being a Eubank, it's a great fight. And it really is an interesting matchup because I think there's big pressure on Jack Catchwell in this fight. We've seen him operate at a world level for a long time. A long time. I mean, this is a guy that should have been undisputed world champion. Beat Josh Taylor convincingly in a rematch. Good wins over Regis Prograis. Came up short against Barboza in a fight. I feel like he could have won and maybe even not should have won on the score. It was a very close fight. But all of a sudden, you know, when you and what I like about this fight and what I like about Jack is, you know, a lot of people who have been at that level that Jack's at, when you propose a domestic fight where there's kind of like an unbeaten, not prospect, but star coming through, a lot of those established guys don't want to fight them. They go, well, why should I fight Harlem Eubank? I want a world name. I want this. I want that. But there's a method to the madness of coming back in a big, you know, commercial domestic fight. And I think up at 147, it's going to be really interesting to see that. You know, they're both guys that have operated at 140. Harlem's gone to 47. I think Jack's been staying around at 40. I think the last few weight cuts have been a little bit more painful for him. But it's a risky fight because Harlem's a confident, young, undefeated fighter. And both guys have a huge amount to prove in this fight. And you know, the pressure is on Jack Catrol to produce not just a win, but a great performance to put himself back up there. A defeat is devastating. And, you know, a victory for Harlem puts him in a phenomenal position on the world stage to land a big fight in a division that's red hot at the moment.
There is an argument here. This is a very strange fight for Jack Catrol to take at this point in his career.
But you know, like when that's what I'm talking about. So we can say it's strange strategically if you want to play it safe, if you want to just fight bigger names, you know, because the argument is, like you say, if you lose to Harlem Eubank, where do you go? Right. So a lot of fighters don't take these kind of fights because what they do is they go, oh, well, I'll fight, I don't know, Devin Haney, or I'll fight Brian Norman up at 147 or something like that. And if I lose, then I can fight Harlem Eubank. But Jack's not really about that. I think Jack and Sam are sort of saying, I beat Harlem Eubank. And if I don't beat Harlem Eubank, I'm not in those conversations. So in that respect, it is risky because if you lose to Harlem, who's a very good fighter, you're miles off fighting the elite guys at 147. So the pressure's definitely on Jack Catchell in this fight. And I like it. I like the fight. You know, it's a great narrative. Yes, Eubank storyline, Catchell in Manchester, etc. It's just a really good all British fight. And it's going to be really interesting.
Let's just run through some of the other names on the card. Obviously, Joe Cordina back in action this week. Pat Brown again after Birmingham. Good fight for Fiaz.
Yeah, I mean,
and
Fiaz, again, respect to Aki Fiaz because he was fighting Michael Gomez. You know, the new opponent is a much tougher fight, in my opinion. You saw him have a tremendous fight with Khalid Majid, which was one of the fights of the year recently. Akib took that fight short notice. He sold a huge amount of tickets. That's a war. Pat Brown's in a decent step up against Lewis Oakford.
Yeah.
The professional debut of Leo Atang as well, which I can't wait for. I mean, this kid is 18.
How good is he, Ed?
My job is to tell you he's the next Anthony Joshua, right? I wouldn't say that if he didn't have all the ability to go and do it. This is not a guy that we've just found in a gym somewhere. This is a guy that, as an amateur, has been knocking people out, has won the world under 19s, has got the full package. He's very young. He's 18. And when you're a heavyweight, when you're fighting big, horrible, strong, slobbering, 19 stone, fully fledged men, it's very dangerous at every single level. So we do have to take it a little bit slower with him and we do have to keep him active. But when I look at young heavyweights coming through, obviously Moses is he's a guy that I think is world level now. Leo is a guy who I think can mix it with those guys. And I think this is going to be, I think he's the full package. And the journey starts on Saturday. So get behind it. And he's a lovely, I say kid. I mean, he's a kid, really. He's 18.
You don't look 18.
No, but he is 18. And we have to remember that. I mean, a lot of those, you know, the three musketeers, I call them, you know, Adam Macker, Leo Atang, and Tira Ayton, they're only 18. Like they're phenomenal prospects. We have the best young prospect coming through, but we've got to do it right with them, and especially in the heavyweight division, because it's very dangerous. Joe Cordina in a good fight, actually, against a tough Mexican. I mean, I always think now when we choose a Mexican, it's like, you know, this fight for Joe, I'm so excited to see him back because this is the road to two-division world championship, three-time world champion. And Joe Cordina is a phenomenal talent. one of the best talents in British boxing right now. And we've got to get him back on the road. And I like the fact that him with Gary Lockett have chose this guy who's come in. This is like his world title shot. So, that's a good fight. And then
Are you
before that,
cool with Cordina now?
yeah, I mean, I think sometimes like you just don't talk enough, and you talk through other people, or even worse, you talk via social media and your interviews and stuff like that. And I suppose they won't mind me saying, like, I've got a couple of DMs from his old man, like when I went to my message requests on Instagram, and they were a little bit like, I didn't really like them, and I think it's his dad. So, and I was like, I just text him. I said, "If you got a problem, call me." And he rang me straight away. I gave him my number, and he rang me straight away. And we had 20 minutes on the phone, and he was like, we both stood our ground, and he said what he thinks, his opinion, and I said what I think my opinion is. And I think that's where it got distorted, because my opinion is we did the most phenomenal job for Joe, and he was amazing, right? We got him the world championship shot in Wales. As part of that, he had to fight the mandatory straight after to get that Agawa shot. And then he got injured after the fight against Agawa. Was supposed to fight. It was a written agreement with the IBF to say he has to fight the mandatory within 90 days. We all agreed that pre-fight. Didn't have a problem with it. And then he was out for 6 months. And the IBF just turned around and said, really sorry, but we're going to have to strip you. And there was nothing wrong with the IBF's decision. But what I did was I signed Zelfa Barrett to fight Rakimov, paid up for that fight to make sure that when Joe came back, he would fight the winner, straight shot for a world title. Like, we made a significant investment, and we did that. Rakimov beat Zelfa Barrett, and then Joe fought Rakimov and beat him again. These are two phenomenal wins by Cordina, by the way, Agawa and Rakimov, to win the world title. And then from there, he fought Anto Kakachi. That happened. And then he got a massive payday against Shakur Stevenson, but the fight fell through. And when you've been fighting for that kind of level of purses, it's very difficult to kind of revert back to the reality of having to build again. And anyway, his dad gave him his opinion, and I gave my opinion, and we actually had a really good chat. And then his dad was like, "Look, I don't really want, not Joe knowing that we've spoken, but I don't want to get involved in his business. I just, I had to get that off my chest." I said, "Good. I feel good that we have." Anyway, he ended up telling Joe that we had the chat. And then Joe called me. And then we had our heart to heart. Do you know what I mean? And what I said to Joe was, Joe, look, in boxing, it's full of people with all the ideas, but no fucking idea. So I've always had your back. From your professional debut, I've done everything right for you. I've never lied to you. I've never not paid you. I've never not delivered what I promised. So at this stage in your career, you've got to make a decision. Do you want to continue that and put your trust in me to become a 2-division world champion? Or if not, we won't do anything. But you have to understand, we need to fight, right? We can't just be sitting there waiting for this big fight. He's been out of the ring for what, a year or close to, yeah? And he said, "I agree with you. Tell me what I need to do." And that's what I want to hear from a fighter. I don't expect a fighter to just do as they're told, but you have to believe, I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this a long time. I'm the best in the game. So if you don't put your trust in me for that process, there's no point working together. Joe has. It's quite actually a tricky fight this Saturday. But from here, we will be in a big fight at 135 pounds. And that division is starting to hot up and shape up a little bit. Yeah. Abdullah Mason's fighting Sam Noakes. Andy Cruz is fighting Murataya. Shakur Stevenson is fighting Zepeda. Do you know what I mean? So there's some big opportunities there. And Joe has all the ability to win a world title at 135. So I'm really pleased we're back together on the train. But it's a big night for him on Saturday. So looking forward to that. Before the bell, you got William Crawler in a decent step up as well. Alfie Middlemiss. Sky Nicholson returns down a division in an 8-round fight. And and then Wasserman have a fighter on as well before that. So it's a really good night of boxing and a lot of good, fun fights. And I think a lot of drama in Manchester on Saturday.
Absolutely. Live on the zone.
Always, baby.
Always. Right. Kind of come out the blue last night. Not out the blue, but we just kind of social media blew up last night with the announcement of the rematch between Chris Eubank and Conor Benn. Not the date we are expecting, September the 20th.
Well, it was really. I mean, it was always the 20th or the 27th. His Excellency actually announced in the ring after the fight that the date, he actually said September 27th, but all of the talk has been September 20, September 27. We've been planning this date for the last 4 weeks. The fixtures come out. The 27th wasn't an option. The 20th was, I mean, all kinds of different stuff. I'm not going to talk to you much on the venue because I know you're going to ask where. I'll let His Excellency announce that. But what I will tell you is it's a massive record-breaking event. So for us, it was just a case of just tell us the date and Conor Benn will be there. In fact, I'll be honest with you, Conor Benn could fight on Saturday if you want. Like he's ready. He's been training, he's been ticking over. But September 20th is what, 12, 13 weeks away? So still a long time to go, but we're ready and we're ready for a massive event.
Can I say the venue?
Sorry?
Can I say the venue?
You can say what you want, mate,
Oh, can I say what the venue is that I think it's going to be at?
if you want. Hold on, let me just get my face right. Go on. Right, ready? On three, you say the venue and I'll just look like I'm not going to give any reaction. 1, 2, 3.
It's got to be Wembley because, and the only reason I said Wembley, yeah, is because you said about record breaking. That's all I'm going to say. All right, we can move on.
Yeah, record breaking can mean a lot of things. It doesn't have to just be attendance, but we shall see. September 20. Let's go, baby.
Right, key question. Let's talk rehydration, baby.
Yeah.
What, the same as the first fight?
Look, we have a contract with Saudi Arabia, Ring Magazine, for 2 fights on the same terms. That's all I've got to say on it. So, I will say this, Coog, to be honest with you, and people still don't understand. Regarding the rehydration, Chris Eubank Jr. actually slept in on Saturday morning because he was fine and weighed in his clothes with a jacket on. And he was a pound or half a pound under. So in his cax, he would have been 2 or 3 pound under. The rehydration was not a problem for Chris Eubank Jr. Now, 160, I believe he struggled at. Yeah, a lot of fighters struggle at the weight, but that's his weight, right? We can't, you can't just say, oh, it was out of order making him weigh 160. No, it wasn't. That's his weight. His last 5 fights have been there. Conor Benn came up 2 divisions, blah, 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 blah. So all I can tell you is the contract that we have, we're ready to go. And we believe that with the activity Conor has now, he will get the victory September 20th.
Okay. So let me reword it in a different way then. Obviously, the fight is at 160, yeah? But the terms you said that you signed for the first fight apply to this for the second fight. Is there room for changes from Team Boxer or Eubank potentially in this fight?
We've had, I mean, look, I think firstly, Eubank's made it clear to everyone that he's the only person that acts on his behalf now. We received correspondence to that effect yesterday, actually, from Team Eubank to say, I, am not signed with anyone. I make my decisions. That's it. So that's a conversation for him to have with Ring and those guys. We have a contract, so I can't. I just, we expect that to be honoured.
Okay, so where does Boxer fit into this then?
I don't know. I think they're still doing something, but he just sent some correspondence out last night. So,
Well, that's not your business, though, is it? Anyway, is it?
That's the one, son.
You're in the Conor Benn business, aren't you, Edward?
You know me. Don't like to get involved in others' businesses. Just.
Has
Stay in
it
my own lane.
absolutely? Has it been discussed who potentially could feature on the undercard?
No, no.
Can I just chuck a fight in there?
Go
And
on then.
that could this be on the undercard? Um, Vidal Riley and Aloys Jr.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, obviously, it's not. It's Matchroom running the event and Boxer, but Queensbury have the relationship with Riyadh Season as well. Love the fight.
Okay,
Love the fight.
okay. But you can't give us any other potential names.
Not at the moment. Honestly, it all happened as it does with His Excellency. It all happened so quickly. Like we literally got confirmation 2 or 3 days ago of the venue that was available, and he announced last night. So
Okay, no problem. Right, let's talk about some other things quickly. What did you think of Deontay Wilder's return to the ring over the weekend?
um, I only really saw the kind of highlights. I mean, I don't know, it looked like the lights weren't working properly. I know that it was very dark on the clip. I couldn't really make out what was happening. Um, Great to see him back, is what I'd say. I mean, obviously the opponent doesn't really tell you a great deal, but sometimes those fights are important for a fighter. You know, when you're coming off a loss or you're coming off a string of losses like him, mentally, it doesn't matter. You can say to yourself, "Oh, I've had some time away and I'm back now," but really that confidence comes in the ring. So I don't mind the fight that he had. Um, does it tell us anything? Not really. But does it give him some confidence moving forward? Yeah. And I still think I read a quote this morning from Carl Froch saying Wilder needs to retire now. He's had his win. I was like, mate, stop worrying about everyone retiring. And why not say, fair play, you went away. Maybe you've got your confidence back. Maybe you've got your mojo back. Let's see you now in a bigger fight and see if that's the case. And if not, you need to jack it in, mate. And I don't know what that fight's going to be. You know, I know the AJ fight is still a massive fight. I don't sit here and say, yeah, I think that it's not. It's really not been discussed. But you know, if if Deontay Wilder's looking for that mid-level fight before going back to the AJs and the whoever it's going to be, Dubois, Thomas, all those real top 5, 6 guys, I think you should fight Dave Allen.
Okay.
So,
Have
so
you had any conversations with Shelley regarding that?
no, I know that they like the fight, but I've not had any direct conversations with them. And I think probably now is the time to reach out. Now they've got that out of the way and just say, what's the plan? You know,
I'll come on to Dave Allen in a second, but are you and Froch any way nearer kind of being mates again and all that?
well, look, for me, I mean, mates, like, I said we're all family. He said we're not all family, which, is still very heartbreaking. But um, I'll never, I don't think Carl could ever really say it. Like, I'm never going to take Carl personally. I thought George Groves gave an interesting interview the other day. I don't know if you saw it about Froch. And he's like, Carl's job now is to be as controversial as possible and do as many views possible on his YouTube channel. That's his project, and he's actually doing good numbers. I think he's really good at actually what he does. So, and he has to annoy people. He has to be controversial. He has to wind people up. Um, so I get that. I just obviously, I know sometimes people take the piss out of me about my sort of backing of Anthony Joshua, but it's the same as anyone's. Like he is my mate, AJ, and I do have his back. And it was the same with Conor Benn. With everything that went on. When I have that kind of relationship with you, I will stand by you. And I don't mind people having a go at AJ, no problem. But certain people, I'm allowed my own opinion. And I'm just saying this: I don't like it when Froch has a go at AJ and seems to have a very one-sided opinion that could be built or based out of an ulterior motive other than just views. And a lot of it is for views. because I just feel like we should be backing him. And when the time comes, like if AJ, was a shot fighter, or if he didn't really want to do it anymore, or if he had no desire, or if he started looking bad in the gym, I'd be the first person saying to him, mate, because regardless of what Froch really thinks, AJ fighting again has no bearing on my life, on my financial life, on my, it doesn't, it's kind of irrelevant in the bigger picture of what we do. So I don't need AJ to fight again. And if he doesn't want to fight again, or if he doesn't have desire, or if he starts to deteriorate, trust me when I say, I'll be the first person to say, mate, I think you should jack it in. But we ain't there yet. He's motivated. He's good physically. He wants to come back with a vengeance. He looked great in camp last time. Granted, he didn't perform on the night. But, when you look at like miles on the clock and stuff like that, you compare the miles on the clock of Carl Froch versus the miles on the clock of Anthony Joshua. I mean, Froch was in war after war after war, even coming through at British European level. He was in wars. The Jermaine Taylor War, the two Kessler fights, right? Obviously Ward was quite one-sided, but all of these fights that he had, Pascal, absolute back and forth war, and these are tremendous fights in a Hall of Fame career. But he went through he was in war after war after war. AJ's not really been in war after war, and he will say, "Oh, the Groves one fight, another great example." And he will say, "Yeah, but I didn't get knocked out in those fights." No, but you got dropped on multiple occasions, and you got up because you're fit as a fiddle. But I just we're going back over old ground. I just want. It's like with Wilder now. It's like he's got he got a little win there. He should retire. All right, let people do their own thing. But like me, he's entitled to his opinion, and he won't agree with my opinion a lot of the time, and I won't agree with his opinion.
Ain't you thought just to ring him up and go, Carl, what's up, mate?
No, because there's no conversation. Like it's not what's up, mate. It's his job now. And it's his opinion. It's like I'm not offended, or I don't take his opinion personally. I just don't like it. But I don't have the right to phone Carl up and go, mate, what are you saying? He would just say, it was my opinion, mate. Fuck off. I say, all right, fair enough. And that's like the same as mine. But he said he was coming to the show in Birmingham, but he didn't come because he had to.
Will you have a conversation with him when you next see him at the show?
Of course. Yeah. But there's no conversation. Like, I will just say to him, I just don't like what you're saying about AJ, mate. That's all. And I think you're being unfair, and he'll say, well, it's my opinion, mate. And I go, all right, sweet. Good to see you, mate.
It's his birthday on Wednesday. Maybe you should send him a little
message. Carl, yeah. I'll send him a text.
Yeah,
there's no beef. Honestly, I can't. You've never heard me talk negatively about Carl Froch, and especially about his fighting career, because I won't. Because we had I would never talk about the journey that we had, the success that we had, the relationship both ways, perfect, brilliant. Changed his life, changed the direction of our company. He was amazing. And that's it. I just don't like some of his opinions, but I'm sure he don't like some of my opinions.
Did you see?
I don't like some of your opinions, to be honest with you.
Like what? Name me one. There we go.
Yeah, Goonan.
What? Rastafari. Listen, what? Did you see him telling Canelo that? That's hilarious. You must have found out.
Listen, Carl is hilarious. Hilarious in those. I mean, I love it. And Canelo's brilliant as well because he kind of half gets it and plays the game. But it's good. I think Froch is. I've always thought Froch is a really good commentator as well. Massive knowledge about boxing. But sometimes I feel like it's not an agenda, but it's just something inside him doesn't allow him, in my opinion, to have a balanced view on certain things. That's it. Maybe that's the same for me. I don't know.
When you get egos involved, Eddie,
That's right. I think my ego's definitely.
I'll talk about you. Yeah. Yeah. When you got an ego anymore, I think you did, and now
I'm chilled, mate. To be honest, I've learned a huge amount. about business, about dealing with people, about life, like just, and I'm honestly chilled, motivated, hungry, but chilled.
Right, let's move on to Dave Allen. Where are we with Dave Allen and Joseph Parker?
Look, we got a decision to make. We like the Jamie TKV fight. I know it's been talked about. I've spoken to his team. We've basically they've asked for a number that we've basically agreed to, but I've told them we are negotiating for some big fights as well. I'll be honest, like initially when the Parker fight came, and there was two other fights of big heavyweight names that we were offered, and we're still talking about. Dave was like all in on those fights. Joseph Parker, yeah, Parker, because obviously it was a few en suites, and he was absolutely buzzing. And then I think he just started thinking, you know what, I really want to win the British title. I've kind of made the decision before to jump up the levels just for the money or just for the opportunity, and I'm in a good place now. So it's a tough decision. And if TKV don't mess around, I think there's a good chance that fight could be next. If not, we'll go and have a big fight. And that, by the way, it doesn't have to be Wilder or Parker or those kind of fights. It could be another guy in the top 15. Do you know what I mean? At Sheffield Arena to position us for a big fight. But I do like the idea of Dave fighting for a British title.
It's mad, isn't it? Because obviously, I remember when he fought Leroy Thomas and he just wanted a belt. That was years ago. And he just wanted that
Yeah,
comp.
because when you leave, like I know obviously money's going to put you in a great position. And it's very important in boxing, especially that you can hopefully leave the sport with a few quid and a house paid for and all this kind of stuff. But belts, belts provide memories and an achievement that will last forever. I always remember Darren Barker, like even when he won the British title, his dad would put it up on the wall and stuff like that. And it was like when he won the IBF world title, I think the first thing that he could think about was, "Oh, I'm gonna have that up on my wall at home forever, and no one will ever take that away from me." And it's very important. I think when you leave boxing, it could be a very lonely place. But when you leave with achievements and memories and again, a lot of those come through belts and titles. I just feel like if Dave could win the British title, plus have enough money to pay off his mortgage and live a nice life with his family, I think Dave would be very content within himself. And I think contentment is important for everybody, but especially for a fighter. When that buzz goes, when the training goes, when you don't have that kind of regiment in your life, it's very hard to leave the sport. But when you leave the sport financially secure and with the belts up on the wall, it's just, I think it just gives you a little bit of contentment. And I think that would be important for someone like Dave. So I'd love to see him achieve that personally.
Do you think realistically he will? You're looking to him to headline a show in Sheffield, or could he feature
Yes.
undercard like one?
No, I want to do it in Sheffield.
Undercard?
I don't, I mean, I spoke to TKV saying, well, what about Ben Eubank? I said, look, we don't know about Ben Eubank undercard. We won't know about it where there's an opportunity now to lock in that fight
Yeah.
if you want to do it. So don't mess around. Just let us know.
Hmm. When does the comeback start for Johnny Fisher then?
Um, I think that when you get beat and when you get stopped, particularly, there's this is another thing that I've learned over the years. My reaction to that, and I think a lot of fighters' reactions to that is, right, let's get back in the gym. Right, we need to get out ASAP. Do you know what I mean? And that what happens is you do that, and then after a couple of weeks, the defeat really kicks in. Does that make sense? And you go into like this, almost like if I'm being honest, a depression and a realization of what has happened. And when you put your heart and soul into something, when you train every day, when you're working so hard, it all comes crashing down on you. And I've seen this on so many occasions, dozens of occasions when fighters have got beat. Oh, don't worry about me. I'll be back stronger than ever. Yeah, the comeback's greater than the setback and all this sort of stuff. And it's like you get back in the gym and then you just go boom and you flatline because it's like, wow, I just lost. And I put everything into that training camp and I wasn't good enough. So you need time. You need time physically after getting stopped like that, but you also need time just emotionally and mentally. Johnny's had that time away. He's now doing the right thing of being back in camp, but working on mainly his strength and conditioning before he gets into, the mode. We've had no conversations yet about when that comeback comes. For me, I would suggest October. And I would suggest 2 fights this year, October and December, something like that. 8 rounds, 10 rounds, something like that. Or 8 rounds, 8 rounds. Doesn't really matter. You want to turn this year around. You want to take a positive and you want to have the momentum to go into 2026 with high spirits, with confidence, and with experiences to move forward. And Johnny's a young heavyweight. He's got a huge career ahead of him. He's got a lot of potential. But now the management of that career becomes ever so important. You know, should we have taken a Dave Allen rematch? I think so. But he wasn't good enough. And now you have to just go back, rebuild a little bit, learn from the mistakes, and go again. Still a long way to go.
Is it going to be difficult to match him for the next fight to see where?
Not really. I mean, look, I think you're dropping down a level. Whenever you get beat, you're dropping down a level. So we need to drop down the levels from Dave Allen. We don't want someone necessarily that might be dangerous or, you know, I mean, we just want a good, solid heavyweight that can go rounds and allow Dave to get back in there and get over the demons, work on the things that, you know, and get some ring time, because that's one of the reasons. You know, you might look at Galal Yafai's defeat the other day. Maybe he didn't have enough professional ring time to overcome an experienced fighter. I don't know. But, you know, I'm looking forward to Johnny go back, and we'll start those conversations soon to say, look, no rush, but this is our opinion. These are the cards. And as I said to you, our slate moving forward, you know, in the next week, we will have our cards locked in for August, September, October, and then it'll be up to our fighters to you know, look at dates and see when Johnny wants to return.
Seen AJ swinging one arm at the minute.
Yeah, he's good. Like, just not back fully punching, but
I mean, it's obviously, it must be all right for him to not be back in the gym, obviously, properly, but he has been obviously in the gym, isn't
yeah, he's always in the gym.
he?
But he'll be good to go from November, basically.
Is that when you're looking for November?
November, December,
Mm.
1 fight, 1 win, 2 huge fights next year.
And you're telling me that you still haven't discussed any opponents with him yet?
No. Being honest, there's starting to be a few names floated around. Not going to tell you one of them, but yes, we are starting to just fire. Me and him have been firing a few messages back and forth on opponents. That's it.
Jake Paul?
You know, Nikisa reached out to me a couple of weeks ago and said, like, I know that you think we're joking and you think we're mad, but I would love to talk in New York about Jake Paul against AJ. You know,
What did you think? Did you watch the fight with Chavez?
I haven't watched the fight. I saw quite a few clips. This is what I think about Jake Paul. I think he's improving. And I think now you start having to put a little bit of respect. You should have anyway, but a little bit of respect on his name for the training camps, for obviously the big shows that he's putting on, for doing 10 rounds, right? Because it ain't easy. He beat a guy that I like, Julio Chavez. I think he's such a great. He's a very troubled soul, but he's a washed up super middleweight, right? And Jake is a cruiserweight. But you know, Chavez has got himself in order and had a proper training camp. He was poor on the night, and he tried at the end, but it was kind of too late. But Jake Paul is improving. I think his IQ, his engine, his shot selection. I think he has good power. He took a few, right? So I don't think he's anywhere near a world-class fighter, but he's improving. You know, I mean, if I'm Jake Paul, I'm looking at Badu Jack probably and saying, I mean, Ramirez would be a mismatch, but like, can I beat Badu Jack? The answer for me is still no, but Badu Jack is in his 40s. He didn't look good last time out at all. But if you're going to go for a world title, but see, again, not my business, but I'm just telling you from a strategic point of view, when you fight guys like Badu Jack, the money's quite small, but the reward could be phenomenal. But you could fight, I don't know, Tommy Fury, AJ. I mean, it's so bizarre. He's calling out the unified world heavyweight champion and 135 pounder. Do you know what I mean? So in Gervonta Davis. So like it's the mix of that him and Nikisa, they're picking the opponents very well. And I think he would fight an AJ or he would fight a Canelo or if the money was just ridiculous. But it would be for those kind of fights because that they want to create moments. Like I say, him and his brother always talk about if we can create a moment and what a moment, the basic translation for moment means money, right? So if the money is out of control to fight somewhere where the danger presents itself, and that's when the money's out of control because of the danger, he may do it. So yeah, interesting. Again, he's like improving. And I think, we've never really seen eye to eye, but he is putting the time and effort in the gym. He's sparring hard. And he's fighting. And I think, like I said, he's improving. I don't think, I used to say he's an average fighter. Like again, average professional fighter. He's a guy that is in the top. Definitely top 100 of his division worldwide. And might even be a little bit higher. And I think that's a decent achievement.
You always said that he would never be good enough to win a British title. You stick with that?
I don't think he'd beat Vidal O'Reilly, no. And he's the British Cruiserweight champion. So I don't think he'd beat Chev. I don't think he'd beat Alloys. But I honestly think now he would compete with those guys. And by the way, when I say about being a top 100 in the world fighter, those guys that I mentioned, Vidal, he might be a top 50 in the world fighter. Do you know what I mean? So, but there's a lot of good fighters in the top 100. He might, again, be disrespected that I'm only saying he's top 100. That's a really good achievement. He's not a boxer. This is someone who's learned his trade. And I think he's got decent power. I think he can hold a shot. I think his IQ is improving. But, that's enough compliments for Jake Paul for today.
Let's talk about Canelo Crawford. Obviously, the press tour has now been concluded. Did you make anything from kind of those three press
No,
days?
just a great fight. I mean, it's funny the Crawford shove and obviously behind the scenes that it's weird because I saw Oscar's comments about them two having dinner together, and then at the same time that Turkey's probably saying to him, right, Riyadh Presser was a bit quiet, so I need you two to go at it. And I thought the final press conference in Las Vegas, it was very clever because it was the UFC event, wasn't it? So they had that crowd there, and I thought it was a brilliant production. The final press conference, great with the crowd, and it's a great fight. Great fight. I'm fascinated by it. I think, I think it's just a great fight. I really do. And I know you get some people trying to slag it off or talk about the promotion. There's lots you can say on all that, but it's a great fight.
Definitely is. Have you swayed who you going with yet or not?
No, Canelo looks switched on and dialed in, but Crawford, like I will say to you, Crawford's confidence is off the chart. Like, and you can't call it a delusion because he's a tremendous fighter. I don't think it's going to be as easy as Crawford says or thinks. But Crawford, if he moves around and makes it boring and tricky, he's going to be a real problem. Looking forward to it. Great fight. Two great fighters.
Are you going to go?
September 13. Possibly.
I mean, you've got no involvement in it, have you?
No, it's a Netflix event. I'm exclusive to DAZN.
Didn't know if you might have had a fighter on there. Slipped in one of your fighters on their head.
Well, we're talking obviously Nishant Devi mentioned, Terry Moana, these guys, but obviously we'd have to have a chat with DAZN. But it would be a big opportunity for a young prospect that's not a main TV fighter.
Your reaction to Tyson Fury shadow boxing in the pool?
Yeah, are you just trying to drag it out now?
No, no, we've got another
Look,
3 years.
there's no point that Tyson Fury, get yourself back in the ring. Come on, let's close this out in style.
What do you think he's thinking at home, generally? What do you think is going through his head?
Well, there's a little. I mean, look, he's a bit of a wind-up, man. I'll tell you what was funny. I don't know if you saw the dog thing that I posted on my story last night on the diving board. Have you seen it? So there's this AI thing, and it's a dog, or about 3 or 4 dogs, like clips of them. So they go on the diving board, like an Olympic style dive board. There's a crowd and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, right. What? Just keep it going. No, yeah. Oh
they
yeah,
can't
people
see
can't see
it
it.
anyway.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So that one, right? I swear to God, I've had over 200 DMs going, mate, it's AI. Are you some kind of moron that you think that's real? I'm like, my God. Like my post was, wow, dogs really are the most intelligent animal. And it's the same thing with Fury. I just think he likes pulling people's plonker a lot of the time. But also, Tyson is, I think Tyson's addicted to just the drama and the buzz of boxing, And I'm convinced Tyson will fight again. But till he makes that decision, it's all pie in the sky and Instagram, whatever. But good luck to him. Seems happy. She's great. Hopefully, we see him in the ring with Anthony Joshua next year.
Hopefully so. Jay Apatow's birthday today. Do you want to
Yeah,
think?
I pinged him a message earlier. I said we're in a good position to do this fight now. So from our side, there's already been talks with His Excellency. We're all agreed from
Thursday,
our
yeah.
side. Sorry,
Yeah,
Zerdo. Yeah, we're all agreed with a Ramirez fight. So hopefully Ramirez is a man of his word. Hopefully they can do a deal, and hopefully you see pound for pound one of the best fights in boxing: Opatara against Ramirez.
hopefully. Right, tomorrow there's an event on somewhere in the country. For Matchroom.
Yeah,
Just talk to us about the purpose of this event that we're.
yeah, it's a big day for us tomorrow. I mean, it might. I think for some people, look, we have a big kind of an announcement, a real look into the future of the look and the feel of Matchroom boxing, and a few changes. And I don't want to like big it up too much because this is really more of a not an industry move. It's important for the fans as well, but we're trying to freshen things up. We're trying to change the look and the way things are presented. From logo to presser to weigh-in to fight night, all of these stuff. We're just trying to keep evolving because I think sometimes things can become a little bit samey. And I think that we are the trendsetter with a lot of the industry, particularly in the UK. And I think in the end, everyone kind of starts doing the same thing. And it looks very same if you go to a Matchroom presser or a boxer presser. Like it's all the same format. So I want people, obviously, you'll see that tomorrow. But on Thursday for the presser, you'll see something completely different in the production. Not just the look of the set and that kind of stuff, but the way things are presented. And I think sometimes it's like, for example, I think when you've got 10, 12 fighters up there, and me or Jamie Ward are ranting, you speak to a fighter at the front, 8 rounds for you on Saturday. Yeah, yeah, it's a good step up. I'm looking forward to it. Right, see you Saturday. And then they might just be on Instagram for the next 45 minutes. Well, I don't think we're getting enough out of the event and enough personality from certain people. So we're trying to bring something a little bit different on Thursday. And I've just, tomorrow, like I said, you'll get the info around that. You'll get the look and the understanding. But Thursday, I just want you to tune in, not you, because you'll be there or whatever, but fans, and just see what you think, because we just want to keep freshening it up. And that's important for us. So tomorrow is a bit like just a new look for us, for the industry, for fans as well, but just a new direction for Matchroom. And yeah, I'm really pleased with the results, and it's gonna look great.
We'll look forward to it tomorrow, somewhere in the country, London. Eddie, I just quickly before we end, I don't know if I've properly spoke to you about that August 16th card and the whole the Towner and White
Yeah,
I mean, what do you think about Dillian White taking that fight against Moses? Had a bit of a mixed reaction in
Yeah,
terms of
look, it's money, isn't it? It's
yeah,
like
it is money.
you have to that it's never Dillian White would never choose that fight ever, right? For all the reasons I said earlier, like you lose to Moses, it's done, you're over. But all of a sudden, a number comes along that makes you change, makes you take it, and that's just what's happened. You know, you can definitely talk yourself into, yeah, but Moses is young, he's green, he's never really been past these many rounds, and if he goes past those rounds, and maybe the only not rumor, but like question mark could be around Moses. Maybe you don't fancy it when the going gets tough and blah blah blah. But basically, you're just talking yourself into it because the money's good. But Dillian's also no mug. He's also a very proud man. He's not just going to go in there and he could get chinned, but he's not going to give up and he's going to hang in there and he's going to. But it's just like it's just the fight you would never take. But the money's great, and you go, well, I'm getting on. Maybe I can beat him, but it's a great financial opportunity. I'm going to take it. So I think it's a great bit of matchmaking for Moses. I think it's a bit disrespectful just to say, "Oh, Dillian's got no chance." But he's been so inactive, and
Going in there thinking he's got like he can beat Moses, 100%. He would be
you
going.
will because you talk yourself into it. But the reality is that not one person in the entire boxing world would pick Dillian White to beat Moses Atama, other than Dillian White and his team. That's the reality. And in heavyweight boxing, anything could happen. He could win. But you ask anyone that you interview who you picking for that fight, and no one would pick Dillian White. But he's a good heavyweight, and he's a proud man. He's a strong man, and it's a good. And again, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it's a stepping stone for Moses, and it's a good gauge to see how ready he is for those top names. And again, that people like Dillian probably thinks that's just my opinion.
Sorry, momentary
Sorry,
pause.
battery went. My fault. We've not cut anything. Yeah, tough fight for Dillian, but look, it's a good
It's
heavyweight
difficult to
match.
completely write him off, though, isn't it?
No, I don't think you can completely write him off. But like I said to you, you couldn't find someone that would pick him to win.
No, I
It's a heavyweight game. He's the tough man, but it's just the inactivity's a killer against that style. But the money's great. Good luck to him.
good card days on August 16th, isn't it? Quite
Great card. I mean, for us, we got Ray Ford against Kakashi, which is a brilliant fight. Brilliant fight. The winner of that fight, in my opinion, should fight Nunes for the #1 spot in the division.
Adelaide and Hergovich.
Good fight. Yeah, good fight. Exciting heavyweight fight. Nick Ball.
Sam Goodwin.
Yeah. A good little tough kid from Australia. It's a good night of boxing.
Absolutely. Right, Edward.
Right.
Appreciate your
See
time.
you all. Remember, tomorrow, new look for Matchroom. Thursday, get involved with Fight Week. Check out the presser. New style. Let us know what you think. Friday, the weigh-in open to the public. Saturday, Fight Day 5K in Manchester. Big card at the AO Arena. Live on DAZN around the world. Catrol Eubank. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Eddie Hearn.